Do you remember anything about priests during the apparition? Do you remember anything specific that occurred?
I remember that during that time, many priests used to come, and many were in civilian dress. I don't know how, but we always knew who were the priests, even if there were a lot of people. One night in particular, while seeing the Virgin, there were a lot of people. The Virgin told us to hold out our arms, so we did. When it was over, we found out that everyone to whom that we had given the crucifix to kiss was a priest in civilian clothes.
Do you remember the story you told me about a priest who came in civilian clothes to see if he could trick you?
Yes, he came with a girl and said that it was his girlfriend. He said to tell the Virgin something about it.
About the girl the priest said was his girlfriend?
He said to tell the Virgin something about him and his girlfriend. So we told it to her, and we found out that he was a priest. I don't remember if she told us he was a priest or if we found it out by ourselves.
I also remember there was something else about a priest, a cousin of yours. Do you remember that incident?
Yes, it was about a cousin of mine. He was 6 years old. He was sick. The Virgin brought me to the house where the child was. We had always been accustomed to give the crucifix to kiss. The crucifix was put at the feet of the child. His mother asked the priest why they put the crucifix at his feet rather than his lips. The priest told him that it was a sign that he was going to be a priest.
Is he a priest now?
Now he is studying to be a priest.
We have more pictures here. These pictures show a woman receiving communion. I think she is a Jewish woman. Do you remember the story of this woman? What was her name?
Catherine.
Do you remember the story?
Yes. She came to our village while she was a young woman. She came because a friend brought her. She came just out of curiosity. One day, Jacinta was in ecstasy. A priest had told her, when you see the Virgin, throw holy water at her, because if it is the devil, it will leave. So Jacinta, knowing that it wasn't the devil, but in order to obey the priest, threw a glass of holy water at the Virgin, and it all fell on the woman. From that moment on, she wanted to convert to Catholicism, even after her parents, who were rich and had a lot of money, offered her everything so that she wouldn't be converted. But she had received a lot of faith that day and was converted.
Did she receive baptism later and First Communion?
Yes, all the sacraments.
We have many pictures. Here's a nice photograph. There is a priest, and the person on the left is Catherine, isn't that right?
Yes, Catherine.
The Jewish lady. The priest is Father Ramon Andrew. The man to the right of the priest, who is he?
That man is a Protestant, or was a German Protestant. His name is Maximo Feuchler. He came to the village out of curiosity. One night he saw an ecstasy, and he was converted to Catholicism.
Is he a Catholic now?
Yes, he is a Catholic, a good practicing Catholic.
Very well. Let's see if we have any more pictures. Here we have the four girls, Conchita, Mari Loli, and we can't see Jacinta's face or Mari Cruz. You're at the church door. Why were you at the church door?
At the beginning, we used to go into the church. But then the people, because they wanted to be first when we extended our arms, would make a big disturbance. So the bishop said we couldn't go into the church anymore. Then the Virgin, from the time that the bishop said not to go into the church, never would let us in there again.
You mean the Virgin used to bring you up to the door of the church?
Yes.
Then in a certain way, she was saying to obey the bishop.
Yes, I think that was an example of obedience to the bishop, and to each person we have to obey.
In the same way, the Virgin was also obeying what the bishop commanded.
Yes, she never went in either.
When the bishop said to stop in front of the church, she would stop there?
Yes, she never said anything. She just never went in.
This photo was taken during the day, but I understand that the apparitions occurred at every hour of the day and night. At what time did she appear? When the people were there?
No, sometimes when we were alone, other times during the day and at night.
At what time at night?
At 11, at 12, at 5 o'clock. There was no definite time.
How did you know when she was going to appear at night?
She would tell us before by 3 calls.
Yes?
But I cannot explain the calls, so please don't ask me. It's a thing that I never understood. That is all I can say.
The call, was it something you felt inside?
I have never been able to explain it. It was like an immense joy that brings you to a place, not knowing where you are going, just that you have to go there.
Was there a time when the Virgin came after these calls at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning?
Yes, at 3 o'clock and at 5 o'clock. There was no definite time.
Who was there to see you?
Sometimes no one. Other times, my mother or many people.
Say, at 5 o'clock in the morning, was there anybody there?
Yes, at times many people.
During all these apparitions, all these spectacular things, I also know there were messages. I remember there was one in 1961. That was the first message. Do you remember the first message that the Virgin gave? What was it about? What did the Virgin say?
Yes, the words of the Virgin are, we have to make many sacrifices, many penances. We have to visit the Blessed Sacrament often. Above all, we must be very good. The cup is already filling up. If we don't change, a great punishment will come upon us. I understand it like this, though not because the Virgin said it. With respect to penance and sacrifice, penance is what we impose on ourselves. Sacrifice is giving up things as the situation suggests. For example, the person that scolds us, not to answer them back, or if we receive a blow, to offer it to God. For me, this is self-imposed penance and sacrifice.
So the message talks about sacrifice, penance, visits to the Blessed Sacrament, and above all being good. With respect to sacrifice and penance, I remember an instance that happened to you about a piece of gum. Do you remember?
Yes, one day on the last apparition on November 13th, 1965, I had a piece of gum in my mouth. The moment I saw the Virgin, I put it in my cheek and didn't chew it anymore. But she said, "Why don't you dispose of that gum? Offer it up for me." I thought she hadn't seen it, but she knew I had it, so I took the gum out of my mouth. For me, this was an example that she is not asking for big sacrifices, but small ones, so that we can continually offer them out of love for her.
So little sacrifices are good because they're made in the presence of God. Because gum is not bad, right?
Not at all, but giving it up is an act of love to God.
She also talked about penance, sacrifice, and that we have to be good. Above all, we must be good. What did the Virgin mean when she said, above all, to be good?
I don't know what the Virgin meant. I understand it to be life lived, moment by moment, offering everything to God, living like a Christian the way our conscience tells us. That's what I think she meant.
So everyone can be good.
Sure. Everyone in their religion, in their environment, in their family, their job, they themselves know how to be good, because I believe everyone has his own conscience, and God speaks to each one through his conscience. Everyone knows what is good and what is bad.
Each man and woman knows what's good or bad, no matter if he's here or in a little village like Garabandal.
I am sure each person knows when he does something good or something bad.
There are photographs about communion. Here you are, Conchita, but we cannot see the host. I believe the angel gave you communion many times. Do you remember how many times he brought you communion?
The Virgin taught us with regard to communion the value and the importance of the Eucharist. After the apparition started, we never missed a day of communion. When there wasn't a priest in the village, the angel would come down to give us communion. I don't know how he knew there wasn't a priest in the village.
Who was he, the angel?
Yes, the angel, and he came down to give us communion.
Concerning communion, only priests can consecrate. Did you ever ask the Virgin where he obtained the host?
Yes, we asked because a priest sent us to ask. She said that the angel would come down and would take a host already consecrated from a tabernacle.
With respect to communion, the angel came hundreds of times. Is that not right?
No, not many times. Generally, there was a priest in the village. He would only give us communion when there was no priest.
How many times more or less?
Maybe 40 times. I am not sure.